from jrootradio.com. You could watch this video online at jrootradio.com. You could also listen to us over there live, and you can listen on the phone line. The number is 718-506-9099. Okay, we are in Chodesh Adar Aleph. Today is Rosh Chodesh Adar Aleph. Mishin Nechnas Adar, Hachamim tell us, Marbim besimcha. We increase the happiness. We have much more simcha in the month of Adar. My Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Shay, used to say that in a year, the Sfarim bring down, in a year where you have a double Adar, like we do this year, which is a leap year, so we have a total of 60 days of Adar. So that's 60 days of Simcha. Marbin besimcha, it's 60 days of Simcha. He says, brought down in Sfarim, that if you have 60 days of Simcha, so if any person has any sort of sadness, any atzbut, so it's automatically batil b'shishim, as we know the rule, that when you have 60 times more than 60 times of heter, more than the isur, it nullifies it. It basically takes away its effect. Likewise, anybody who has Hashem goes through sadness and he can't worship Hashem properly, he can't serve Hashem properly, he can't think properly, he can't get into it. Simcha is the key, as Sfarim bring down. All the Hasidic Sfarim bring this down constantly, not only Breslov, but they all speak about the importance of Simcha and Abudat Hashem. The Rambam brings Simcha, even for the Nevi'im. 60 days of Simcha, 60 days of happiness will be mebatel, the klipa of the Sitra Hara, the evil side that tries to make a person feel down and mitya'esh and feel like he gave up, like he has no hope. It's the time for renewal. We're coming to the holidays. We're coming to the holidays of Pesach, Sfirat HaOmer, Hagas Shabuot, Matan Torah. So this is the time that we have to prepare ourselves and bring ourselves into the Simcha, the state of Simcha, so we can worship Hashem. Now the question is, what is the Simcha all about? The Simcha, what's the purpose of this happiness? Why are we so happy, or why should we be so happy? Purim? That's it? The whole month of Adar, Marbir Simcha, because just of Purim? Well, and this rule only existed when there was Purim around? So the Or Gedaliahu has a very, very nice explanation. He says, if you look in the Gemara Masechet Ta'anit, you'll find that the Gemara over there brings this line, Mishnichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. But right before that Gemara, the Gemara says, and Mishnah says, Keshem Keshnichnas Av Mima'atim Besimcha, Kach Keshnichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. Translate. Just like when the month of Av comes in, we start cutting down, we start lowering our Simcha, we start minimizing our Simcha. So too, when the month of Adar comes in, we start to increase our Simcha. Says the Or Gedaliahu, from the fact that the Gemara put them together, the sadness or the decreasing of the happiness in the month of Av, it is associated with, or compared it to the increasing of the happiness of the month of Adar, must be the link together. Both of them are for the same reason. Now, the reason of mi'ut simha, when we decrease the happiness in the month of Ab, there's halachot to it. What's a halachot? We cannot build anything, back in their days, we used to build apartments for the hatanim, when people would get married, they'd build a house, and that house would have the wedding. Eventually, that's where the hatan would live. That's called the bet hatnut. We'd cut down on building houses for the hatan, anything that brings about simha. All things have to do with preparation of weddings. We have no weddings. In our days, we don't listen to music, and we don't eat meat, we don't drink wine, and all these things that bring about happiness. Why? Because the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and we lost the Shekhinah, the presence of the Shekhinah. So too, says the Or Gedaliahu, or at least the flip side of it, is the month of Adar. The month of Adar, the fact that we increase the Simcha, from the Gemara, it seems that we're increasing the Simcha, we're increasing the happiness, because it is a time of building. It is a time of building and preparing the house for the Shekhinah to come. And what's interesting is that if you look in the month of Adar, the parashot that we read, whether it's a leap year or not, so the difference between a leap year or not a leap year will be just if it's Adar Aleph or Adar Bet. In the leap year, when it's Adar Aleph, like this year, we read the parashiyot of Terumah, Tetzaveh, Kitesa, Vayakel, Pikudeh, as well as Vayikra and Shemini. All of these parashiyot deal with the construction of the Mishkan, which eventually was the model of the building known as the Beit HaMikdash. And when it's on a leap year, it's the whole month of Adar. But even in leap year, we go even in Parashat Vayikra and Shemini. Those are also parashot that deal with the service of the Beit HaMikdash, which is all coming for one purpose, and that is the presence of the Shekhinah. The idea of having a Beit HaMikdash is the fact that we have Hashem right there. Can you think for a moment? Stop for a second and think about your block. Think about the block that you live in. And if you live in that block for a long time, the mashal is going to be even better. Think about the block. You obviously like the block, or maybe too poor to move out of the block in any case, but by time you should get used to it. The Gemara says, Hen makom al yoshbav. There's a certain liking that a person develops when he lives in a certain neighborhood. So now, you live in a certain neighborhood and you're happy. You're happy on the block. You have your neighbor down the block. You have your neighbor next door. Maybe some people you don't get along with, but there's obviously some things that you love on the block. Think of the thing that you love the most on the block. It could be a relative on the block. It could be another person on the block. It could be the fact that it's such a close location, but there's something. It could be that you're next to a shul. Now, what would you say, Has Shalom, if that thing that you love on the block all of a sudden goes away? That family that was down the block where your kids used to play with them all the time, it's such a good family, Adel family they could count on, they moved out of the block. Then it moved down to another block. Then it moved down to another neighborhood. They moved to a different state. They made aliyah to Eretz Israel. So good for them, but you're left without them. It feels a little bit lonely. We all know the feeling when the summer months come, and if you're a Brooklyner and you don't get out of Brooklyn, you feel very lonely. Yes, true, there's parking, but you know what? You miss a little bit of the noise and all the kids running around. So we all know what it feels like to have somebody in the neighborhood that we like very much, and especially somebody that we could count on and rely on. That's my understanding and my mashal on a very, very, of course, a very small level of what it means to have a Shekhinah living with us. The Shekhinah to live with us, Hashem is so close to us that we feel His presence, that He's down the block, that He's right there, that He's in our houses. This week's Parashat tells us, Hashem says, I will live amongst you. You make that Mishkan, you have a Beit HaMikdash, I'll be with you everywhere. Not just in the Beit HaMikdash, of course, where it's the greatest presence, and a person could almost see it, but certainly feel it. But even in your own homes, we feel such a closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the idea of V'shachanti b'tocham. That's the idea of Hashra'at HaShekhinah, that Hashem lives with us. And that's the month of Adar. That's what we are really here. We're preparing. We're building. We read about the construction of the Mishkan. We celebrate the holiday of Purim in the month of Adar, which in itself brought about the building of the second Beit HaMikdash. In the month of Adar, we give the Shekalim, which goes to the maintenance of the Beit HaMikdash, and once upon a time it was there to build the Mishkan itself. This is the month of Adar. As the Ogil puts it, Aleph Dar, the Aleph which represents the spirituality, the Hashem, Elohim, is Dar, comes and lives with us in the month of Adar. And that's really what the month of Adar, that's the happiness of Adar. The same sadness that we exercise in the month of Av, we cut down on the happiness because the Hashem Shekinah left. There's a destruction that's coming up in Tisha B'Av. The same happiness is now in Adar, Hashra'at HaShekinah. Hashem lives with us. Hashem comes to live with us. And we all know, when you're building something, the excitement is much more than when you actually live in it. Maybe the excitement is for the first day you live in it. You're building a new home. You're building your sukkah. You're building a tree house for your kids. You're working on a project. You're building something. The work in the building brings such a happiness, the excitement. That's what the month of Adar is. It's the building for the month of Nisan, when there is a Hashra'at Shekinah. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is when the Shekinah first had its presence in the Mishkan, as we see in Parashat Shemini. And that's this happiness. This is what we're all happy about. But the question is, how do we apply that practically? One of the themes of the Halacha hour is that we try to be very practical. Maybe not today's class, and we'll see as we go to explain it. But we try to be as practical as we can. How do we apply it practically? The Gemara tells us, "Miyom shenihra bet hamikdash en lo leHakadosh Baruch Hu ela arba amot shel halacha." From the day the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, all Hashem has is his 4 amot, his 6 feet, 8 feet, whatever shita you go with, his 4 amot of halacha. Mefarshim point out that the Gemara doesn't say he has arba amot shel Torah, which in itself we would say, oh, of course, the learning of Torah is great, but it says shel halacha. What's the difference between halacha and Torah? The both, if you learn halacha, it is Torah. So why did the Gemara choose that Hashem's presence is only found in halacha? And the answer is that when a person is learning Torah, what happens when he closes that book? What happens when he closes that Gemara? What happens when he closes that Sefer? Where is the Torah now? Is it over? Question is, what happens when he closes the book, when he steps away from the book? Is he living what he learned? Is he applying what he learned to his life? If yes, that's halacha. Halacha could be fulfilled, could be lived, not just in study, but in ma'aseh, in action as well. That's the difference between regular Talmud Torah and halacha. All is great. All Talmud Torah is great. It brings you closer to Hashem. It connects you with the Shekhinah. It has the tremendous amount of reward that's spoken about in the Zohar and all the Sifrei Hazal and Midrashim and all the Sifrei Musar. But the difference is that when you walk away from the halacha book, you're living halacha book. And as we mentioned when we first started learning Hilchot Mukseh, in the area of Shabbat, the halachot that come up the most are the halachot of Mukseh. If we study the subject of Bishul, which is important and very, very important because it's very easy for a person who doesn't know the halachot of Bishul to has b'shalom transgress and in Isur Doraita and to be over in Isur Karet of Shabbat. So it's very, very important to learn the study of the halachot of Bishul. It's also very important to learn the halachot of Borer. But these things will only come up when you're eating, when you're coming to eat, in Borer, or when you're warming up your food. And that's it. If you're in shul, the subject of bishul will not come up unless you take care of the kids, of course, right? But if most people are not, so the subject of bishul will not come up. The subject of borer is rare to come up also. And these, by the way, are probably one of the most applicable melachot that we have on Shabbat. Mukseh is everywhere. Mukseh, wherever you turn, every single item is subject to the laws of Mukseh. That means Mukseh has to pass, and the laws of Mukseh have to rule. Is this Mukseh or it's not Mukseh? A Sefer. Is it a Mukseh or it's not Mukseh? And when something is not Mukseh, what degree do I have permission to move it? I can just move whatever I like? Is it like a Sefer, as we learned, where it has no restrictions on Mukseh whatsoever? I can move a Sefer in whichever way I want, like the way I can move food? Or is it like, perhaps like my shoes? My shoes are Kli Shemilachto Leheter, where I'm limited. If I have no tzorech, if I have no need for my shoes to be moved, I can just pick them up and move them. I need to have a certain tzorech with it. So that those subjects of mukseh that we're learning are very, very important because that's living halacha. So it's not just a study. Of course, as we're learning, as the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, the Shekhinah is there when we're learning. Hashem is sitting with us, listening to us as well, joining us in the Limud Torah. And that's where all the Kedusha of Talmud Torah comes from. It's not from who's speaking. It's not what the person's saying. It's the fact that it's Hashem's words. When it's Hashem's words, the Shekhinah is there and we feel that. That's a Kedusha of Torah, and that happens with any Talmud Torah. But when we're done with the class and we're applying what we learned and we're living what we learned, that is halakha. That's the Arba Amot Shel Halakha, where the Shekhinah is there. That's a small sample of the Beit HaMikdash that we have with us on a constant basis. Always, wherever we go, we are a walking Beit HaMikdash. Now, the month of Adar, and this year, when we have 2 months of Adar, is the time when we have to focus more on our Talmud Torah. A lot of people go through slumps. It's a normal thing. I just saw somebody this morning. You go into classes? The answer, oh, Rabbi, I fell out of it. It's normal. It's normal. People feel that, I fell out of it. It's over. No. It's very normal for a person to fall out of things, in anything, even non-spiritual things. Kava Homer, Gemara says, Tefillah, Torah, Derech Eretz. These are things that's very easy. You have the Yetzer Hara pulling the other way the whole time. And the Yetzer Hara nowadays is tremendous. You have all these things that are always pulling people away. Now, the time of Adar is when we have to re-inspire ourselves. And we have to prepare ourselves for the month of the holidays. And therefore, here from the Halacha Hour, we, B'ezrat Hashem, will give you the guideline, exactly what we hope, what we're projecting, B'ezrat Hashem, for the next coming classes from now till about Pesach, and even after Pesach. We hope that we have today's class and another 1 or 2 more classes on the subject of Mukseh. Some people point out to me, Rabbi, it's a lot of classes on Mukseh. It is. It's a big subject. I don't like to, learn a subject that's only halfway. If we're doing it, might as well do it all the way. If it's too many classes, okay, so it's Hazara. But it's not Hazara. It's always new material. It's a lot of information. And Baruch Hashem, we spent a lot of time on it, but we all know that the more lefum tzara agra, the more effort, the more gain. And we hope that the subject of Mukseh has been clarified more than we had in the past. We have a better understanding and of not just the laws but how to apply them. So as I said, we have this and I believe another 1 or 2 more classes on the subject of Mukseh. After that, we will go into the laws of Purim. As by the time we finish the Halachot of Mukseh, I believe we're going to be right around the corner of Purim. So we're going to have to go into the Halachot of Purim. From the Halachot of Purim, of course, we have no break. We jump right into the Halachot of Pesach. That's right. Already, Pesach's in the air. You got to start cleaning up. From now, you didn't even make Mishah Manot, but you got to prepare yourself. And of course, as we usually do, we dedicate about 3 to 4 classes on Pesach. And then after Pesach, Halachot of Sfirat HaOmer. Those are regular halachot that come up every year. When we finish our break from the halachot of Shabbat, because we'll be doing the halachot of current events, which is the halachot of the holidays, B'ezrat Hashem, we will begin already the next part of halachot Shabbat from the Ben Ish Hai, and that is the halachot of melachot. With the melachot of Shabbat, the 39 melachot of Shabbat, we'll try to give a general introduction. Hopefully by then, I'm really hoping that we could be working on a special video, explaining the basics of the 39 melachot of Shabbat. It's not just important for the kids to know in school what the 39 melachot are and the basic rules. It's important for everybody to have an idea of what all the melachot are, even if you don't know every single detail. If you need more details, so you call Rabbi Tahan on Friday, he'll give you more detail. But just to know at least where to ask, to know where there is a shiloh, to know where there's something coming up. Hopefully, we'll be working on that. And of course, we'll go through all the halachot that the Ben Ish Hai brings on the Chot Shabbat. And B'ezrat Hashem, that will be already after Pesach. Now, let's come back to our laws of Mukseh. We are in Parashat Vayigash, Shana Shaniya in Ben Ish Hai. We're up to Halacha Tet. Halacha Tet is found, believe it or not, in Siman Shin Tet in Shulchan Aruch. It's a short halacha, an important halacha, a practical halacha. We'll read it and explain it, and then after that we'll move on to the other halachot, and that is the introduction to the laws of Mukseh Mahmat Isur, and what will be in itself an introduction to Basis Ledabar HaAsur. As B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get to hopefully next. The introduction we'll get to this week. We'll get to the halachot next week. Let's read halachat in Ben Ish Hai. נוטל אדם את בנו ברשות היחיד ואבן או חתיכת חרס ביד הבן ולא חשי בעם מטלטל את האבן בידו. A person is allowed to carry his son in an area which is closed off, what we know as a reshut yahid, in your backyard. Of course, if you don't share a backyard, you can carry your son even in your dining room. So what's the hadush that you can carry your son? Your daughter also, by the way. You carry any of your kids, you carry both of your kids. The hadush is, even though the child is holding on to mukseh. Okay, so now you're going to ask me, what? So what? If my son is holding on to mukseh, I can't carry him? And guess what? No, really, under normal circumstances, you cannot. Here, there's a special exception that Hachamim made that you're allowed to carry your son or your daughter when they're carrying mukseh. When do we give you permission to carry your son if he's holding on to mukseh? That's only if the child has gagoim. The Israelis know what I'm talking about, gagoim. So I hope I don't mess up the translation. Gagoim is the child really wants that the father should carry him. That if he's cranky and they get very, very, they have a tantrum, and they want you to carry them, that's when we allowed you. Now, the halakha says over here, yihla, but it doesn't mean yihla, as Ben Shai says, that the kid has a major tantrum, and he needs to be picked up. So even though he's holding mukseh in his hand, now what kind of mukseh? A stone. A stone is mukseh mahmad gufo, the most severe level of mukseh. Even though he's carrying the mukseh, we allow you to carry him. Also another condition. We don't just allow you to carry the kid holding onto the mukseh, even though there's no problem carrying right now. We're talking about in your house, in your living room. So what's the problem? Now I'm carrying the mukseh? Yes, that's a problem. If you want to carry your son or daughter, has to be that if you don't carry them, they're going to have a tantrum. You don't need to wait for them to have a tantrum. If you don't carry them, they're going to have a tantrum. And also, there was no possible way for you to throw away the stone from their hands. Because if you do, the kid will cry and he'll start yelling. Without that, without these two conditions, without the condition that, what does that mean? That if my child is carrying a stone in his hand, which is mukseh mahmad gufo, and I can't get him to let go of it, I also cannot pick him, I also have to pick him up because otherwise he's going to have a tantrum, then I can't carry him. Even though he wants to be picked up. No, you cannot pick him up. Men or women, by the way, this applies to. And even when the child is going to have a tantrum, otherwise, Hakamim allowed you to pick up your children when they're holding on to mukseh. That's only if they're holding on something very insignificant to you, like a stone, like a piece of wood, which in itself is mukseh. But if the child is holding on to something that's mukseh, but it has importance to you in your eyes, like a coin. Your son is carrying $1 bill. Your son is carrying $1 coin. In that case, you can't pick up the kid. You know why? Because we're scared that if the kid drops the coin, you might come to pick up that coin. So in the case where, let's review it again. In the case where he's carrying a stone, he's carrying mukseh, I can't pick up my kid. Why? It's considered like I'm carrying the mukseh. Now, you have obviously questions on this. We'll discuss the question in a second. But just hear the halakha first. In a case where the child is carrying a mukseh mahmad gufo, but it's something of value that's even valuable to me, that there's a fear, maybe, even if I know I won't, because it's $1. It's Shabbat is more important than $1. But still, since it has value to you, we're scared that if by carrying him, you might, and he drops the coin, you might come to pick it up. Because it's not like a stone, you just, you couldn't care less about it, you kick it to the side. And not only that, there's an opinion Shulchan Aruch, which Ben Shai goes with over here, and he says, not only carrying your child, even holding his hand. So imagine your kid comes to you, he's holding on, he picked up a $20 bill, and he's going to cry. And he tells you, Tati, Abba, hold my hand. Walk me to the end of the room. Walk me to my sister's room. Walk me to the basement. Walk me upstairs. I'm not carrying him, just holding on to him. Also asur. Why? We're scared, like we said, that you might come to pick up the mukseh. And since you might come to pick up the mukseh, Hachamim were gozer. Now this sounds like a very, very, very far gezerah. But that's what it is really. That's the halakha. Question now is like this. I don't understand. I'm not carrying the mukseh. I'm carrying my son who's carrying the stone. What's the problem with that? Rabbi, didn't you teach us when it comes to mukseh, there's something called tutumun hatzad, which means I'm allowed to use a broom, which is klish v'achtol heter, to sweep away mukseh. Right? You told us that. Not only because it's grav sharei, I'm allowed to when it's letzorech dabar hamutar. So why over here is it a problem when I carry my son who's carrying the coin? Or, okay, I understand if the coin. In the case of the coin, it's a special case that I might come to pick it up. But why is it a problem when he's carrying a stone? I'm not carrying the stone. My son is carrying it. For that, we have three answers. That's so Piskei Teshuvot, he brings from three different sources, three answers. Number one is that Hakamim made over here a special gezerah, and they consider that when you carry a child, even though you're not carrying the stone directly, because his child is the one who's carrying it, it's like you're carrying the stone with it. That's one answer. That's a special gizera. Another answer that's given is like this. We said you could only carry your son who's carrying the stone only if he would have a tantrum without it. And that's what the Hakimim said. He's going to be mitzta'ir harbe, yehela, he might get sick. So now, this reason gives me the heter to carry my son because now it is a tiltum natzad. I am carrying my son who's carrying the stone, but the tiltum natzad is only mutar litzorech dabar ha-mutar. Remember the case we gave, if you have a fruit or a vegetable that's buried in dirt and you want to shake off the dirt from it. The dirt is mukseh Muhammad Gufo, but the fruit is not mukseh. I'm allowed to shake off the dirt for the sake of the fruit. I want the fruit. I'm shaking off the mukseh from it. That's mutar. I'm moving mukseh through something that's mutar. It's only mutar if it's for the sake of the fruit or something that's not mukseh. When I sweep the floor, for example, let's say, this happened to me the other day. I had an envelope with checks and it fell on the floor. So now I have a few checks on the floor that I wanted. I can't pick up the checks. The checks are mukseh Muhammad Gufo. But if I would sweep the checks with a broom, that's called tutum natzad. It would still not be mutar if I'm sweeping the floor because I want the checks to be placed in the closet. Otherwise, my kids will rip it and make a whole design out of it. But it will be only mutar because I want the floor clean. The floor is something that's mutar. I'm allowed to walk on the floor. I don't want it to be dirty. But it's for the sake that I want the checks, that will be called tiltul min hatzad litzorech dabar hasur and will be forbidden on Shabbat. If the kid is not going to cry, when I carry my child, it's like I carried the stone. It's called tiltul min hatzad litzorech dabar hasur. But if he's going to cry otherwise, then we say it's litzorech dabar hamutar. A third answer that's given is, being that I can't get my son to get rid of the stone. Remember we said if he's holding onto the stone, I have to make sure I tell him, shake off that stone or shake it off from his hand. If by shaking it off from his hand he's going to cry, so obviously he needs the stone. So when I'm carrying my son, I'm not only carrying my son, I'm carrying him with the stone also with him. So that's called litzorech dabar asur. I'm carrying him not only for him, I'm also carrying him for the stone. I want the stone to be in his hand because otherwise he's going to have a tantrum. So then in that case, since I want to carry also the stone, so then I have a problem. It's called, even though it's a tum natzad, but it's a tum natzad litzorech dabar ha'asur. It's for the sake of the stone, which will be forbidden on Shabbat. So practically, if your child is carrying mukseh, any mukseh that is, you can't carry him because you consider like you're carrying that mukseh. However, if the mukseh is of a category that you yourself would have permission to move it, it's like a kli shebachto le'isur. Your son is carrying a hammer. Well, that's dangerous, huh? Okay, so let's pick something else. Your son is carrying a pen. He won't let go of the pen. And he needs you to carry him. So now, regularly, I can take the pen and use it l'dabar hamutar. In this case, by carrying my child who's carrying the pen, so although it's considered like I'm carrying my pen, but since my son needs me, it'll be mutar. If my son is carrying something that's of value that we're scared that you might come to pick it up, and this is obviously conditional, meaning to say it depends. It's custom made, this halacha. If the item is hashub to you, but it's not hashub to your wife, it's important to you, it has value to you, but it doesn't have value to your wife. Your wife comes from a very wealthy family. For her, $20 is nothing. For you, you are, you work hard for your money. You didn't grow up with such wealth. So when you see the child carrying $20, right, you might actually, if he drops it, you might come to pick it up. You don't want the $20 to be lost. So it could be that for your wife it will be mutar, but for you it will be asur. It's all on how much you value the item. But you can't say, I'm going to carry my son, I'm going to hold his hand, and I'm not going to pick up the mukseh that he dropped. You cannot say that. Because, like we said, it's a gzirat hachamim. Once hachamim made the gzirah for that reason, even if you believe you're an exception to the reason, you're bound to the gzirah of the hachamim. That is halacha tet. Now halacha yud, we begin the subject of the last category of mukseh that we're going to focus on. Really, it's two categories of mukseh, and they are mukseh mahmat isur and basis ledabar ha-asur. These two categories of mukseh are not simple. They're not a lot of halachot. They're not simple though. We needed to learn mukseh mahmat gufo before we got to this subject. because these subjects are really connected to each other. Mukseh Mahmad Gufo. Let's just review very quickly. Mukseh Mahmad Gufo is any item that has no purpose. It's not used for anything, like money, stones, or dirt. In itself has no intrinsic value. And that's how it came into Shabbat with that status. It's just a stone. It's not used for anything. And the subjects of Mukseh Mahmad Isur and Basis Dabar Asur really rely on knowing this fact. Now, what we're about to tell you is something very, very important in the knowledge of the Hilchot of Shabbat in general, but they are very technical. They're very technical. I don't want to sound like, Has Shalom, but this is primarily is going to be a men's thing. What we're about to learn doesn't have so much practicality, but the concepts are found everywhere. That men who learn Torah, this concept will come up a lot in Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, Hilchot Shabbat, and you probably have heard these terminologies, and if you're not really familiar with them, you probably spaced out because like, whoa, what's going on over here? And if you are a little bit familiar, hopefully with the following, we'll have a little bit more clarification on it. I apologize for anybody who is not into the sugya, but hopefully those who are learning the subject or would like to go into the subject, I hope that the following introduction to the Achod Basis L'Davar Asur will be enlightening and helpful when you come to study Hilchot Shabbat Be'ayun. Let's begin as follows. There are three places or three categories in the Hilchot of Shabbat where we find a mahloket in the Gemara between two great Tanaim. One is Rabbi Yehuda and one is Rabbi Shimon. There's three mahlokot between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon in Hilchot Shabbat. And in all these three categories, we usually, I'm saying the word usually because it's most of the time we rule like Rabbi Shimon. Okay, what are these three areas? What are these three categories of Hilchot Shabbat? Or what are these things? Now, this is not just one isolated area. These concepts, really the word category was not correct. These three concepts in Shabbat are found everywhere. In every halacha that you're going to be learning in Shabbat, these concepts will also apply there. So, what are these three concepts? Let's begin with the first thing. Something known by, maybe some people heard of it, now we get it clear. There's something known, dabar she'eno mitkaven. That's the first category. What does it mean, dabar she'eno mitkaven? It means you're doing something that's mutar on Shabbat, but as a result of what you're doing, it's possible that you may cause an isur to happen as you're doing that which is mutar. You're doing something completely mutar, but it's very possible that as what you're doing, you could cause an isur to take place, and your intention is not for the sake of isur. It's called dabar she'eno mitkaven. You're not intending to do an isur, and it's not certain that the isur will happen. Let's give you an example to that. Let's say you have a garden, and you have a chair, and you want to drag your chair. You have those plastic light chairs. For you to dig a hole in your garden is asur on Shabbat for many reasons. One of the main reasons is horesh. You're plowing your field, which in itself sets up the melacha of planting. So here you're dragging your chair. Is it possible that maybe as you're dragging your chair, maybe that it might make holes in the ground? Yeah, of course it's possible. Is it certain? No. So, is it mutar to drag my chair from my house through in my backyard, through my garden to get to the end of the garden where I want to sit down with my family? Mutar or asur? This is a mahloket Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. According to Rabbi Yehuda, asur. Why? The possibility that maybe I'm gonna dig something in the ground and therefore be over in the isur, the right of horesh, which is davar she'eno mitkaven, according to Rabbi Yehuda is asur. However, according to Rabbi Shimon, it is mutar. Why? Because it's not certain it's going to happen. It's possible. Once something is possible, and I don't have intention to do the isur, so it's known as dabar she'eno mitkaven. According to Rabbi Shimon is mutar, and that is the halacha. We hold like Rabbi Shimon in this area. However, when I'm doing something that's mutar, and it's inevitable that something asur will also happen, then even Rabbi Shimon will agree to be that that's going to be asur. Give you an example. I have I have a fridge and I have a light bulb in the fridge, and I forgot to shut off the light bulb before Shabbat. I know for sure. I forgot to shut off the light bulb. It's my job, and I left it on. And not only that, I saw when the kids open up the fridge on Shabbat and close it, I see the light went on. So now, when I open the door of the fridge, what am I doing? In essence, why am I opening the door of the fridge? I don't care about the light. All I want to do is open the fridge, take my lettuce from there and I want to eat my salad on Shabbat. Gishmak salad on Shabbat. My act of opening the door is really nothing intrinsically forbidden. I'm allowed to open the door. Yeah, but when you open the door, which is mutar, you're causing the light to go on. And you can't say maybe yeah, maybe not. For sure it's going to go on. That's called a psik reshe. Psik reshe, even Rabbi Shimon holds, that's asur. Rabbi Shimon is matir only in the case where it's not certain it's going to happen or not, and that is known in Halacha as dabar she'eino mitkavin. So this is the first area of mahloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, and we rule like Rabbi Shimon. Next, second concept of Shabbat that we find mahloket between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda is something known as melacha she'ena tzricha legufa. Melacha, which is the Gemara terms it. This is the phrase in the Gemara. Melacha that's not needed for itself. You're not going to understand what this means if you just translate. There are 4 different shitot of what to explain. The more simple explanation, and we'll right now use the explanation of the Tosafot. In order for a person to be hayab, mid-deoraita, on a melacha, on Shabbat, it has to be done with the same purpose that was done when the Mishkan was up. We all know that the 39 melachot that are forbidden on Shabbat are derived from the 39 melachot that have been done to build the Mishkan. One of the melachot, let's give something that's very, very, what's it called, practical. One of the melachot that they had to do is they had to color the Kohen's garments in techelet. And that color of techelet comes from a certain fish in the water known as the halazon. So they had to trap the fish. So trapping the fish on Shabbat is forbidden. Why? Because that's what they did in the Mishkan. They had to trap the fish. It's not only fish, it's all animals. Any animal. If I'm trapping the animal on Shabbat, that's also forbidden. It's known as melacha of tzad. I don't have to kill it. Killing is another isur. But just trapping it alone is asur mid-deoraita. Okay? But in the Mishkan, why did they trap the fish? Because they wanted to use the fish for its blood. They wanted the fish. So therefore, on Shabbat, if a person traps an animal, not because he wants to use the animal, but he wants to get rid of it. Give you a mashal. Let's say you have a cockroach. And the cockroach, not the friendliest and cutest presence in the house, Not so many people, say, oh, cute, look at that, there's a cockroach. Could I pet you, right? Usually people will try to get rid of a cockroach. Gives you this creepy feeling, right? If not, again, okay, Hashem Yahim. So in any case, now I want to trap the cockroach. Why? Not because I want to capture it and I want to use it as a pet, put a leash around it and walk it every day. No! I want to trap the cockroach because I want to get rid of it. I want to throw it out of my house. So in that case, I'm performing a melacha of tzad, but not for the same reason that they did it in the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, they trapped the fish because they wanted it. Here, I'm trapping the cockroach because I want to get rid of it. I want to throw it out of my house. Here is another area of mahloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbi Shimon. According to Rabbi Yehuda, mahmir, asur. That's asur midoraita. Even though it's melachat she'ena tzricha legufa, even though you're not doing it for the same reason of why the Jews did it in the times when they were building the Mishkan, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who cares? Nonetheless, it's still, you're performing a melachah, you're trapping the animal at the end of the day. And you're hayab midoraita. However, Rabbi Shimon says, no. It's not mutar, but it's not asur midoraita. It's only asur midirbanan. What's known in halacha as patur abal asur. That means if a person traps a cockroach to throw it out of his house, it's asur dirabanan, but not mid-deoraita according to Rabbi Shimon. And here, the majority of Rishonim rule like Rabbi Shimon again. However, the Rambam rules, in the case of melachat she'ena tzricha legufa, he rules like Rabbi Yehuda, that person would be hayab. So, 2 people are taking out the cockroach. Or one person takes a cockroach and throws it out of the house. He could have lived with it, but he doesn't like it. It's not so cute. He wants it out of the house. But he trapped it. The trapping itself of the cockroach, according to the the Rambam, it's a Sudeoraita, even though you're trying to get rid of it. Let's make this a Sudeoraita. According to Rabbi, according to the other Rishonim, which is Rabbi Shimon, it will be Patur. Be a Sudeoraita, but not a Sudeoraita. Third area of mahloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon on Chol Shabbat is what's known in the Halacha as Mukseh. Oh, this is our subject. You'll be shocked if you haven't heard this before. You'll be shocked what we're about to say. The Gemara says there's a mahloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon when it comes to Mukseh. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there is Mukseh on Shabbat. The laws of Mukseh are in effect on Shabbat. The concept of Mukseh exists on Shabbat. There's an Isur of Mukseh on Shabbat. However, Gemara says, according to Rabbi Shimon, with only minor exceptions, he doesn't hold of Mukseh. And guess what? The halakha is like Rabbi Shimon, that besides a few cases, there is no Mukseh. What? There's no Mukseh? We spend maybe 20 hours learning the halachot of Mukseh, and now you tell me there's no Mukseh, so what did I learn all this for? Well, hold on. Before you throw your tomatoes at your radio station, at your internet, just listen very well. What does it mean that Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold the Mukseh? So here we have the Tur and the Beit Yosef. The Beit Yosef really more talks about it. And all the Ahronim explain this. When we say that according to Rabbi Shimon, that he doesn't hold the Mukseh, it's only talking about in specific area. There's only two specific areas where they had a mahloket on. Not two, I wouldn't even say two. But in the few specific areas is where they had a mahloket on. Number one is like this. In areas where Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda disagree, will be like an area like Mukseh Mahmat Mi'us. We haven't learned the subject because we don't rule the halacha like Rabbi Yehuda in the subject. Mukseh Mahmat Mi'us means something that is disgusting. It has a function, but right now in its present state, it's disgusting. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, the fact that it's disgusting makes it mukseh. Okay? Not to be mixed up with graf sharai. Graf sharai is the opposite. Graf sharai allows me to move it even though it's mukseh. Here, it's the opposite. It's a kli. Under normal circumstances, I should be able to move it. But because it became disgusting, so I can't move it. It's called mukseh mahmat mi'us. I'll give you an example. Practical example. You have a bowl and you put cat food in it. And then afterwards you come and you see it. Now the bowl in itself should be klish machtol heter. It's a bowl. It's made to hold food. But now the cats ate from it. Ugh, it's all leftovers. Not the leftovers, but you see the grease still on it, and you know that animals ate from it, and who knows what they did to it. So it's disgusting to you. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, that bowl now becomes mukseh. You cannot move that bowl. That's known as mukseh mahmat mi'us. Rabbi Shimon says, no. It's a bowl. It's ra'u. It can be used. Who cares if it's disgusting? Mukseh mahmat mi'us does not apply on Shabbat. That's where Rabbi Shimon argues on Rabbi Yehuda mukseh. However, all other areas of mukseh, or the majority of other areas of mukseh that we discussed, even Rabbi Shimon will agree that they are mukseh. For example, mukseh mahmat hason kis. Rabbi Shimon, the Gemara says, agrees that it's going to be mukseh. Mukseh mahmat gufo, stones and things. Rabbi Shimon will agree that's mukseh. Also, klish menachto leisur, that you're limited to moving it only lesor gufo mekomo, but mehamal letzel lezasur. Also, Rabbi Shimon will agree that's mukseh. So, when we said that Rabbi Shimon disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda on mukseh, it's only in specific areas. We listed before one of them, mukseh mahmat mi'us. In that case, we rule like Rabbi Shimon. However, there are cases where Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon disagree in mukseh, and we still don't rule like Rabbi Shimon. Even though Rabbi Shimon says what he says, he's mekel, he's more lenient, we are stringent. What's that case? Case of mukseh de ben hashmashot. And this, Rabotai, listen, very, very important. What's the case of mukseh de ben hashmashot? It's something basically that entered Shabbat, or what Shabbat begins is from Sheki'ah, sunset, until Seta Kochabim, that's known as Ben Hashmashot. We discussed this in the past. That's basically the bridge to from weekday to Shabbat. In that bridge of time, if something came into Shabbat as mukseh, it remains mukseh throughout the whole duration of Shabbat, even though the reason of the mukseh might have been removed on Shabbat. Give you an example. We can learn in the laws of Basis Dabar Asur is that when something is forbidden, is placed on top of something that's mutar, even the item that's holding the forbidden piece also becomes mukseh. Give you a very, very simple example. You have money. Money is mukseh Mahmad Gufo. You place money in a bowl. Okay? So long as the money is in the bowl also has the same status as the money. Also, the bowl is mukseh Mahmad Gufo. Now, here's the mahloket Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. According to Rabbi Yehuda, if the money somehow was moved, it was removed on Shabbat from the bowl remains mukseh because it came into Shabbat with the money on it and it was placed there intentionally, therefore it remains mukseh. However, according to Rabbi Shimon, he'll say like this. I understand that when the money is in the bowl, it's mukseh. The bowl is mukseh, even though it should always be, it's a klish machtol heter. But as long as the money is on it, Rabbi Shimon will agree that's mukseh. But once the money came off, so why are you making the bowl mukseh? That said the mukseh is gone. Use the money. Use the bowl, excuse me. What's the problem? This is known as mukseh ben hashmashot. We in this area rule. I mean all of Klal Yisrael, by the way. It's not Ashkenazi, it's Faradi. Everybody, Shulchan Aruch, Gemara. We rule in this area like Rabbi Yehuda, not like Rabbi Shimon. Why? The Bahag Ba'al Halachot Gedol, one of the earlier Rishonim, explains because in the Gemara we find that Rabbi Meir also rules like Rabbi Yehuda. So it comes out Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda hold. In such cases, it's mukseh. The bowl remains mukseh even though the coins were removed from it on Shabbat, since they came into Ben Hashmashot as mukseh. And Rabbi Shimon who's matir is Yahid. Yahid versus Rabbim, the rules like the Rabbim. Good? So let's give you another mashal. You have a bowl that has oil in it, and you put a wick inside of it, and now it's lighting. You know that the oil will finish 3 hours into Shabbat. Or candlesticks. You know that the oil is going to shut off after 3 hours. According to Rabbi Shimon, as long as the flame is on, you can't use your candlesticks. You can't use that bowl. According to Rabbi Yehuda, even when the candles shut off, you cannot use the candlesticks for the whole duration of Shabbat, since it came into Shabbat with mukseh on it. This is known as mukseh de ben hashmashot. Now there are areas where Rabbi Shimon himself will agree that if it came into Shabbat as mukseh, will remain mukseh throughout all of Shabbat, even though the reason why it's mukseh is gone. For example, you have fruits on a tree, and it came into Shabbat on a tree, and then the wind blew, and the fruits fell off from the tree. According to Rabbi Yehuda, for sure, since it came into Shabbat, ben hashmashot as mukseh, remains mukseh. But even Rabbi Shimon will agree in this area that the fruits are mukseh. Why? And here's very, very important. Because according to Rabbi Shimon, for something to have the status of mukseh throughout the whole duration of Shabbat, you need two conditions. What are these two conditions? Condition number one is known as dihya b'yadayim, that you actively set it aside. You personally set it aside that you didn't want to use it. Number two, you need both conditions. Number two is that lo t'hazya ben hashmashot. There wasn't a possible way that you could have used that item during ben hashmashot in a permissible way. For example, let's take the fruit. The fruit was on the tree. When ben hashmashot came in, the fruit was on the tree. Once ben hashmashot came in, could you take from that fruit? According to Oshit, no, because you'd be tolesh, so deoraita, ripping off the fruit from the tree. Not only that, the fact that you didn't pick the fruits on the tree from before Shabbat, it shows that you don't want them. That's like pushing them aside. So according to Rabbi Shimon, even though a storm came and it was windy and the fruits fell on Shabbat, since you were doheh you didn't pick them, and also you couldn't have used the fruit during Ben Hashmashot, then it remains mukseh throughout the whole duration of Shabbat. This is a short introduction to mukseh mahmat isur and the cases of mahlok between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. There's a little bit more detail on this, but next week when we get into the subject more, we'll review this last concept with a few practical applications, And we'll come back to practical halacha. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Eran and Jroot and Rav Nissim for hosting us and spreading Torah. Chodesh Tov Borach, Mishechnas Adar Mabim B'Simcha. Have a wonderful week and Shabbat. We'll see you here, B'ezrat Hashem, next week live on the Halacha Hour on Wednesday, 2 o'clock. This show will be aired on again tonight at 10 p.m. on jrootradio.com. If you have any questions, you could call in right now, 718-683-5858, or text at 347-927-8398.